Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and mysterious, true glitch stories, including the paranormal. Case File 49, written by user TahneeTheAdventurist, details a peculiar, seemingly impossible elevator in an old home. Then it was gone. Where did it take its passengers? I was 15 or 16, 33 now, and babysitting my teacher's 2 daughters. It was time for them to go to bed and they shared a room. They were getting situated and I was getting ready to tuck them in so I could go out and watch TV for a while. Wild thornberries, snagging some downtime. I was standing by the door talking to them for a minute and promising we could play whatever they wanted the next time I was over, when I heard music coming from their closet. I figured some toy was going off in there, because I had made them pick up their room earlier, and just assumed they shoved most of the toys that were out into that closet. I asked them what it was, and the younger girl looked at me shocked and said she was surprised I heard it, then turned to her older sister, who was staring at me as well, equally surprised. I thought they were trying to play a joke on me, so I played along and went over to the closet and whipped open the cheap closet door. It was one of those closets that have sliding doors, so you can only access half of the closet. The type where the door always slides off the track, but what I saw inside was something I can't wrap my mind around. It was what I now recognize to be an elevator from the 1920s or 30s era. 2 big velvet box benches lined the walls with the same color carpet, red. I remember the walls being gold and extremely shiny, with a ton of white round buttons for all the different floor buttons. I remember the gold wall being extremely reflective, but not being able to see my face reflected on the back wall, due to the panel having small round perforations, kind of like a vent cover or a speaker. I remember not feeling scared per se, or maybe the right word is terrified. I was a little freaked out, but I wasn't terrified. From the angle I was standing, the closet stood directly adjacent from the door to the room. The girls could not see what I was seeing, being to the far left side of the room, so I slowly closed the slider, then opened it again. It was packed to the max, with plastic tote storage bins and clothes. The interesting thing, and it could have simply been from my reaction, but the older daughter asked me simply, but very seriously, "What did you see?" I ended up telling them because it seemed like they knew something, and she told me she had never seen it, but the younger one had. She could hear the music though. They then begged me to let them come lay out in the living room with me. We all piled on the couch and watched the wild thornberries until they passed out and their mom got home. I never brought it up to the mom. I never asked the girls if they brought it up to her, and she never brought it up to me. I babysat them several times after, and never had another experience. I had asked them at one point if they thought their house was haunted, and they told me they weren't sure, but that part of their house while being moved had gotten lost in the forest somewhere. Like it had been moved and then forgotten in a forest for weeks. Again, this is from the mouths of young children, so I'm not quite sure what that means. But they thought it was important enough to mention, so I will too. I would love any suggestions as to what you may think was going on here. I know it happened because I spoke with the girls about it on several occasions after the fact. I know at least it wasn't some crazy vivid dream. Also, I remember thinking to myself, I won't permit myself not to believe this happened, so I made sure to study it while I was standing in front of it. I remember the inside of that elevator vividly. And lastly, there is no history of mental illness in my family history that could account for a one-time hallucination or delusion. Case Notes, File number 49. So to me, the fact that the children in this home also knew of what you were speaking, well, one saw it and the other just heard music related, that's what solidifies the story in my view. Whenever there are corroborating witnesses, even children, it piques my curiosity, especially when they're not led on to a conclusion. Did you happen to have time or even the thought to try pressing any of the buttons in the elevator? Of course, it's the fact that it vanished after closing and opening the closet that's what really sends my head for a spin. Actually, I get the Chronicles of Narnia vibes reading this. Perhaps there's some kind of lore that book series was based on, closets leading to other realities somehow. The author responded to my comment, saying, "Wow, very interesting take, thank you. I never did have the inclination to interact at all with it. I often think, what if I had gotten in?" I asked the younger one if she did, and she told me no. She said by the time she went to get her sister and show her, it was gone. If it makes any difference, the younger sister was around 5, and the older one around 8 at the time. Another thing I've noticed about a lot of glitch stories, or maybe it's just the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, but I have noticed a lot of stories where the OP was around the age of 15 or 16. Logically, it would make me think possibly a hormonal thing. But yes, the fact that girls knew about it, without being led to that conclusion, puts that out of the question. Just another note from me. After you stated, "What if I had gotten in?" I actually got a little chill run down my spine while reading it. Might just be my own bias, but that is a little bit more ominous. Maybe it's not a Chronicles of Narnia situation at all. Maybe more nefarious. What do you think? Case file number 50, written by user MrFeelingOffender. It was a night out. A plane in the distance is seen. Only, it's frozen in midair. Okay, just to preface, I'm very skeptical of sightings and things of that nature, because it's very easy to fabricate or doctor an image or story. After last night, I'm much more open to the idea that there are some things that we'll probably never be able to explain. So last night, I was taking out our trash bins at around 9:30 p.m. It gets dark around 5, so at this point, it was almost pitch black. I had my dog with me and the 2 bins. As I was nearing the end of my driveway, my dog just stopped and I thought nothing of it. However, in the distance over the hill, there was what looked to be an airplane just hovering, not moving at all or making any sounds. I stared at it for a good 10 seconds and it didn't even move 1 inch. Not even the red and green lights that are on an airplane at night blinked. I looked away for a good 2 to 3 seconds to make sure that my dog was still there and not chasing any cats. And when I turned back, it was gone. No trace of it at all. No lights, no sound, which in of itself is odd because usually you can hear airplanes, helicopters, and jets, etc. from a very long distance due to how open the surrounding area is. Also, there were no clouds either, so it's not a possibility that I just lost it behind a cloud. Now, I would normally just write this off as a star or something explainable. However, the fact there were lights on the wings of the plane makes it impossible to do so. I have no idea what to make of this, and quite frankly, I'm not sure I want to know. Case notes, file number 50. I'm curious if this was specifically a plane glitch or your environment was frozen. I'm recalling a past story where there was a family in a car at a stoplight and they all appeared frozen. All the cars around them too. Even the sound seemed diminished, which you did mention from the plane, but I don't know if this is exactly the same. My theory then was that the server was just updating or something, or was lagging. It had to be paused to buffer. Maybe this also happened. Maybe it's not so much time as our perception of it given the mechanics of the servers we're running on. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and also subscribe on up. I'm always uploading more of these fascinating stories.